welcome to another episode of Asexualized, my asexual life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual. I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit the great big subscribe button below right here, right now. Please hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I go live right now or post new video. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up as we go along if you're enjoying the content. If you find it useful, helpful, insightful, entertaining in any way, shape or form, you just want to give this channel slight love. I appreciate every single one of my community here. Anyway, I do apologise for not being on the live stream last night. I had to take my Mac into the Mac store yesterday and I was there for 5.5 hours. Because I've been having some problems with my Mac. They wiped everything off my Mac. Luckily, I had backed it up before and in their store. And then in the end of the day, they told me my Mac's too old to accept any of the new, any of the slightly new upgrades, which my Mac's a 2009 edition. And they were trying to put iMovie, which is what I use to do all my course videos and when I'm not doing live streamings, I'm editing videos rather than just having them raw. That's what I use all the time to create them, you know. So I have got some shorter videos where I have used iMovie, particularly the Celebrate Being Single one that I did recently. And basically, they tried to install a 2009 edition of iMovie, but it was a more up-to-date one of mine, and none of my videos would go into it. So it means that I would have lost all my Asexual Meetup Mastery course videos. I'm still finishing working on that. I've almost finished now. I would have lost all my videos that I've uploaded to that, and I would have just not been able to use it. And there's a lot of jingles, music that I get free with my edition that doesn't come with the new edition, which is kind of weird, and I get all the titles and everything that I can use for videos. So in the end, I was there till the store closed, and then they told me I need to go home and restore everything back to the way it was, which means it'll still have some problems, but it's just an old one that unfortunately goes very, very slow and causes me issues. So yeah, that wasn't very helpful really. The only helpful thing was it's not a hard drive problem. I got told my hard drive's fine, both the internal one of the Mac and the external one. But yeah, I had to restore it, and it took over 5 hours to restore at home, and it was still processing at gone midnight, and by the time it was 1:30, there were still problems with it. So I ended up going to sleep and open it up, and the migration had worked and everything's back, so I can carry on with the Asexual Meetup Mastery course, which I've been trying to do today. So this evening, so it's been very interesting. So I do apologise because this is Aromantic Awareness Week. I do want to help spread awareness. Just to let you know, there's two types of aromantics. If you haven't watched a previous video about aromanticism, there's an aromantic asexual, which is what I mostly cover on my videos because I'm asexual, so I lack sexual attraction. An aromantic asexual is someone who lacks romantic attraction. That's what an aromantic or aromantic person is. And asexual person is someone who's absence of sexual attraction in the main. We don't get the need, urge, or want for partnered sexual intercourse usually. So someone who's aromantic asexual, they don't experience romantic attraction or sexual attraction. And someone who's an aromantic sexual person, so you can have an aromantic heterosexual, for example. An aromantic heterosexual will be someone who doesn't experience romantic attraction, but who is sexual. They experience sexual attraction, and with heterosexual, it would be like usually the opposite gender or sex that they're interested in, sexually attracted to. So, but obviously you can get any type of sexual person that's aromantic. Just means they don't experience romantic attraction, but they do experience sexual attraction to whatever gender they're sexually attracted to. So I hope that makes some sense. So I'm going to be reading from my Asexual Perspectives book. Someone who is aromantic, they go, well, on the aromantic spectrum, I just say, all be revealed in a minute. And this is, if you haven't got a copy of this book, please, you know, go below at the end of this video and do grab yourself a copy. It's very, you know, it's huge. It took me ages to write, a year, and it's got loads of different people, including aromantic asexuals in the book. It's really, really insightful, and it really shows you the asexual spectrum, not just tells you textbook definitions. because obviously we don't all fit into an asexual box. I don't exactly fit into an asexual box, and I'm going to talk a bit more about that along with this person. This person goes under Anon story, so they are anonymous, which is fine because I've allowed the people in my book to be anonymous if they wish to be. And I am not anonymous, and I'm in the book, so you can read my whole personal story for everyone in the world to see, but I hope it helps someone. Anyway, a non-story, when I asked them, how do you identify yourself asexual, it's a very, very interesting answer, actually, because they put, I'm asexual and somewhere in the grey aromantic area. An alternative to grey aromantic is calling myself demiromantic, since that's how my first and so far only relationship started out as. However, I have experienced other grey area romantic feelings, mostly undirected towards anyone. So I mainly identify as grey aromantic or aerospec. So yeah, a grey aromantic person is someone who can experience romantic attraction under limited, rare or specific circumstances, but not usually enough to want to act on it. That's like a grey aromantic. Now, someone who's demiromantic, they can experience romantic attraction, but only after a deep emotional bond has been formed. Otherwise, they're just aromantic. They don't experience any romance. This, you know, they are different. A grey aromantic is experiencing some, you know, if it's just a little bit of romance usually, and a demi-romantic is they really can't feel it unless a deep emotional bond has been formed with certain, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean to say they're going to form a deep emotional bond with loads of people. It could just be a handful of one person. Do you know what I mean? Which is why it's very interesting about how they found out they're asexual. So how did you discover you're asexual? Through my boyfriend. In the beginning of our relationship, it was all about the romance. We'd kiss and make out, hold hands, and for me, it wasn't connected with going further. Now, as an asexual person, I really, really do relate to that, you know, because I have said on this channel a lot of times that I'm very physical with the way I like to kiss, but I like to keep my clothes on, you know, and my ideal relationship would just be lots of kissing, like lots of passionate kissing, but without it ever leading to sex. You know, I don't want to go further. I don't want to have sexual intercourse or anal sex or vagina, you know, like I don't want intercourse, which is vagina, penis stuff, and I don't want anal, and I don't want to be doing stuff to a guy's bit and licking and, do you know what I'm saying? I'm not interested in guy below the waist, to put it quite frank with you. So yeah, it's not connected with me going further. You know, I can happily kiss for up to 3 hours, probably more. I think 3 hours is my record so far, without it leading to any type of sex. Sex does nothing for me. Honestly, it just really doesn't, and I'm just not interested in it. You know, yes, I've had it in the past, but I did it because I thought I had to as part of a normal relationship. You know how it goes, and you know, I didn't look at my guy at the time. Obviously, I haven't got a guy now, and think I want sex with him. In actual fact, I preferred doing the washing up when he's trying to instigate sex with me. And I hate washing up because I just wasn't bothered or interested about doing that, you know. The only good thing about him was we did a lot of other stuff, you know, that I did like. So that made the sex not as bad as it did with all the other people that I had. Well, I say other, I've had 5, so the last one was a long-term one. The other people were 4 guys, but one I was with like nearly 7 years, and we only did it probably 3 times, had sexual intercourse, which is probably, you know, partly why he went off with someone else and had an affair in the end, because I'm just not interested in sex. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't a great guy anyway, to be fair. But yeah, so anyway, going back to a non-story, with we'd kiss and make out, hold hands, and for me it wasn't connected to going any further. I thought this was normal. So for an asexual, that is normal. You know, it's very normal for an asexual person not to feel like, you know, a need to go any further. Like if you kiss or cuddle and hold hands, for an asexual person, it's very, very normal for us to not want to take it any further, for us to not want it to go any further, because, you know, we can just like that in and of itself. But he slowly developed feelings I didn't have after about a year. I could sense a difference between us. After heavy kissing, I would listen to his heartbeat and his breathing, and both were elevated. But for me, my physiological processes never changed like that beyond slight physical arousal, not connected to any desire. My heart rate was at resting point and my breathing was slow. He'd want to go further, and I didn't really care for that. I wanted to stay as we were. I didn't understand why we were so different. For the longest time, I thought I was just waiting for marriage until it dawned on me that this isn't the case. I'm not abstaining, I'm asexual. And again, that's really important to note that abstaining is when you're refraining on purpose from sexual intercourse for whatever reason, right? It's different with asexuality. With being asexual, you just don't feel like you want sex. You don't, you're not, it's your sexual orientation. It's not like you're not doing it on purpose. Asexuals can have sex if they want to. Most of us have got working tackle down below. Do you know what I mean? But it's just that we don't have that sexual attraction. We don't look at someone and think, oh, they're nice, I want sex with them. This doesn't enter our head. Do you know what I mean? That's how I know I'm asexual. But for me, it's very strange because, like Anon was saying, when they said that their partner was elevated, his breathing and heartbeat, that's what kissing does for me. And I have high levels of arousal, but I have absolutely zero desire to take it any further because I'm not sexually attracted to the person. But it's very, very weird and unusual, I think, and strange for an asexual person to have such heavy breathing. Like, I sound like I'm having sex sometimes if I'm doing heavy breathing kissing. I don't usually do it in public. It's usually when I'm in private and my body's intertwined with that person, but with clothes on, I might add, not off. So physically I'm touching their body a lot more. I'm very, intertwined. So that's when it usually happens. Do you know what I mean? But that's why it's kind of weird, because I model in terms of behavior, sexual behavior, yet I have no sexual attraction. Not all sexual behavior, I don't, but in that instance, do you know what I mean? With the heavy breathing when I'm kissing, I have my body's highly aroused. So I find that very strange as an asexual myself. I kind of like, my body's got a mind of its own and my mind's got a mind of its own. They're completely separate. But I think some asexuals could probably relate to that, maybe on the more grey or end of the asexual spectrum. But, I don't experience any sexual attraction, whereas a grey asexual, as opposed to a grey romantic, a grey asexual is someone who usually does experience sexual attraction to limited or rare or specific circumstances, but not enough to want to act on it. But I really don't. I just don't. So it's kind of weird. I have this sexual behaviour, I have high levels of arousal, yet absolutely zilch diddly squat sexual attraction. But, that's what I mean. Asexuals don't all fit into a neat, tied little box. Do you know what I mean? We just don't. And I think it's harder for the ones that don't feel like they completely fit in 100% anywhere into a tiny box. It's kind of difficult. Do you know what I mean? For me, it's like I'm definitely asexual, but it's like an anomaly. You know what I mean? So this is interesting because they're aromantic, to find out what their view on love is. So what's your view on love? Have you been in love before? Obviously, I'm reading from the book. That's why I keep looking down. This is a non-story. My view on love is that it takes many forms. Romantic love is thought of as the meaning of love. There can be many different loves even to the same person. For example, I love my boyfriend. I mulled over what sort of love I feel towards him, but I think it's a mix of love types. There's a mutual feel to it, like we're best friends. And honestly, every really serious, committed, deep relationship should have that feeling of being bestest ever friends. It's a very healthy form of love, the healthiest form, really. But there's also feelings of what could be family related besides a little bit of romance involved. So I think that's the difference between probably a romantic relationship and more of an aromantic relationship where romance isn't involved, or little romance involved. It feels more like a family type of love Whereas I don't really, I have that with my best asexual friends, kind of like a little bit like they're my asexual family, but I don't have family feelings for them. Do you know what I mean? That in the sense of how I feel about my parents and stuff, it's not the same. But it's interesting to hear an aromantic's perspective. To me, this is a Anon story again. Love is it's love. Oh, sorry. To me, love in its basic definition means a feeling of caring and adoration towards someone. I'm not sure if I've ever been in love before. Someone could say I'd been in love the moment I met someone. Another could say I'm in love once I become close enough to someone. So my answer to the question is I don't know. I think that's very, very interesting. As I think with aromantics particularly, it's harder for them to understand if they're in love with someone or not, because they don't experience usually romantic type of love. And I've seen this in my groups, you know, there was a person in my group and she just really desperately wanted to understand romance because she's aromantic and she didn't know if I think she was interested in someone or had a partner at the time, and she didn't know if she felt any romantic love for them because she's like, I don't know what romantic love feels like. She hasn't got a clue, you know, because she's aromantic. And I think, you know, like that's why it's kind of difficult, because, you know, not everyone on the asexual spectrum will feel everything that each other feels. You know what I mean? You know, romantic love. I think romantic love can be beautiful, but it can be, honestly, I'm a hyper romantic, but it can be at times very disconcerting sometimes, you know, romantic love. Because, you know, you can end up getting romantic feelings for people you don't really want to feel romance for, people that aren't very good for you, relationship wise, people that aren't very healthy for you to be in a relationship with. So I actually can appreciate people on the aromantic spectrum who don't experience romantic love and who actually feel that romantic love is full of drama. I can actually agree with them in part that I think it is drama. Even though I'm a romantic asexual myself rather than aromantic, I really understand, because there's people in this book, more people that are aromantic, and they do believe that romantic love is, you know, full of drama, and because they're not on the romantic spectrum, they're aromantic, they have absence of romantic attraction, they think they have a lot of less drama in their life where relationships are concerned. And you know, I really understand that, and I kind of agree with them, really, that, you know, romantic love can have a lot of drama with it. You know, there's a lot of highs and lows, there's a lot of chemicals flying around, there's kind of a lot more need, I would say, in terms of to feel certain things and to think certain things and to do certain things in a relationship. I think the expectations kind of a lot higher about doing certain things that are romantic, making sure romantic. I mean, I'm so romantic with myself. I think it'd be hard for any guy to live up to my romantic expectations, to be quite honest with you. And that's me being honest, you know. But I am who I am. I'm not going to stop being romantic Sandra just because, you know, I have high expectations. But, you know, romantic love can be very dramatic. Now, at the moment, I've decided that I'm not actively pursuing a relationship anymore for the foreseeable future at the moment this year, because I've decided it's not very good for my health at the moment, and I'm not in a healthy financial business position to be able to do that, and I need to focus on my career more at the moment. And it was making me quite upset, you know, doing dating and relationship stuff. It wasn't feeling good anymore. So I'm leaving that for a while. You know, I'm still on asexual dating sites, you know, but I'm not actively pursuing it. I've got better things to do with my time at the moment. I think that's the thing with aromantic asexuals, when they lack romantic attraction, and that particularly those aromantics that don't want to get into relationships, they've got better things to be doing with their time. You know, projects to be working on. I think a lot of aromantic asexuals, they have so many projects going on. Like I have a lot of projects going on, but I think aromantics particularly focus more on projects and probably hobbies and interests than anything, because they're not interested. The ones that aren't, not every aromantic isn't interested in relationships, some are, but I think the majority of aromantics, you know, they got better things to be doing with the time. And the time as an asexual person, the time that I'm not having sex is a time when I can be doing other things, right? I can be living my dreams. I can be, looking after myself, better, self-dating, having fun in life, seeing my friends more, thinking about a ton of other stuff, doing lots of projects and other things, where sex isn't involved. And I think when someone's aromantic, especially if they don't want to get into a relationship with anyone, they've got even more time to themselves to focus on their projects, to focus on their hobbies and interests, because they've not got that romantic path they're taking. As a romantic asexual, like I said, I'm on a pursuing romantic relationship break at the moment, pursuing being in a relationship break at the moment. It's healthy for me. It's helping me. My mind's, I'm feeling more positive about that at the moment. I'm happy to be single again at the moment. I'm following my single path more, which is good for me. Healthy at the moment. I need that in my life. And, and now I'm not actively pursuing a relationship. I'm spending a lot less time on asexual dating sites. Obviously, I went in some sexual dating groups recently. Well, last year, I went on a sexual dating site this year, and all that time. So I'm just messaging people back, specifically if they're in sexual dating site or sexual dating groups. A lot of them, they just want sex, and it's just like, it becomes a bit like, do you know what I mean? And on asexual dating sites, let's be honest, people a lot of the time, they just stop talking to you, or they don't even bother responding. So it's kind of like, what's the point in wasting time? The right guy's going to show up, or if he's not, fine, I'll just stay single forever and have my beautiful home here. I mean, I rent this place, but I love it. I've been here for years, like over 15 years now. I've lived here on my own, and I absolutely adore it. I love the decor. I love being in my bedroom. I live in a studio, but I actually love the idea of staying in my bedroom. I don't really need a lounge. Lounge is excess space, just takes more hoovering and dusting. I mean, obviously, if I had my own house, I probably would have a lounge for guests, because if I'm having any guests over, them coming in my bedroom's a bit weird, so I don't usually have many guests. That would be the only bonus, really, of having a lounge. So I could have more friends over that weren't directly in my bedroom with me, which doesn't usually happen. But, my two best asexual friends have been in my room now. Once each, so that was it. And I trust them implicitly. They're attracted to guys, so it doesn't matter. They're not attracted to females. Do you know what I mean? So I don't have that to worry about whatsoever. And I trust them implicitly, in that way. So I trust them implicitly. My bestest friend Sam was amazing. They, not he, sorry, they were they now. They are a most trustworthy guy. A person, not guy. Sorry, Sam. I know they watch this channel. They'll be telling me off. They're the most trustworthy person I know. Sorry, I do apologise. I'm still getting used to their pronouns. Sometimes I'm really, really good, and other times I tell myself off because I'm not. So anyway, going back to the aromantic asexual in this book. Right. Okay. So we'll see how this works. So, are you currently in a relationship? And if so, is it with another asexual? If yes, do they identify the same as you? Or how do they identify? Or is it a sexual personality either working out? So, this is a non-story again, aromantic asexual. I am currently in a relationship that has lasted since October 26, 2013. So this book came out in 2017. So that's 4 years later, isn't it? We had a rough patch that lasted from August 2015 to January 2016. But other than that, we mostly get along. He's most certainly not asexual. He is heterosexual. Other than him trying to get me into sex, we are great together for the most part. I laugh, but it's not really funny, is it? But you know what I mean? I laugh because it's like kind of typical of what a heterosexual usually mostly tries to do, is get you to have sex. And do you know what I mean? It can become a bother. Can become a bit of a nuisance. Do you know what I mean? But obviously, if you love a heterosexual person, then you try and work things out with them, don't you? I mean, I was with heterosexuals for over half my life before, so that's why I had sex. Otherwise, I wouldn't have needed to, or wanted. Well, I didn't really want to. Well, I mean, it was consensual, but I wasn't like, oh, I want to have sex. It just didn't compute in my brain. So other than him trying to get me into sex, we are great together for the most part. We have a best friends aspect to us, and I enjoy that intimate, non-sexual moments. As for the non-penetration sex acts he tries with me, I don't care for it, but I compromise on it. I don't hate it, but I'm more apathetic about it. He assumes my physical arousal is me being turned on, even though I feel nothing in regard to sexual desire. So, like I was saying earlier with the previous part of this person's story, is they said that they don't really experience much arousal, right? But when I think that's what's difficult, because I do have high arousal levels. I even mistook that for sexual attraction for years. I didn't realize I was asexual. I thought I was a heterosexual that just wasn't really into sex and really like it, and I didn't associate sex with love. I think they're two completely different things. I always have done. And so I think that's why it's weird, because if I'm kissing a heterosexual guy, they have absolutely, my behavior's like sexual in terms of I get aroused, or even the way I like to kiss, but I have absolutely no desire for sex whatsoever. I just don't. I think it's kind of gross these days. I'm a very sex repulsed person these days. I wasn't in the past, but nowadays I'm just very personally sex repulsed. For me, I don't, if other people want it, that's fine, but it really turns me off, the whole thought of like sex. And if a guy gets too sexual with me, it does put me off him. It does start scaring me, it's like, I don't particularly want to be really intimate with a guy who's so sexual, because I'll be afraid that he would push me for more. Do you know what I mean? But otherwise, I don't mind being kissing intimate. But you know what I mean? When they're pushing to lead on to more, and they're trying to touch different parts of your body, and trying to go over your boundaries and stuff, it can become a bit of a nightmare, especially if you're a person that's not quite sure 100% yourself what every single boundary is. So, for example, I don't like to be touched in certain places, like my chest and my, certain places. Particularly if I'm not in a relationship, obviously. But it's like my bum. I'm not sure if I like my bum to be touched or not. Like, I think maybe the outside bit of it is okay, but the inner, more inner bit, I don't. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm talking about with my clothes on. But that kind of is a bit blurry to me, because sometimes I don't even realise, if I'm out clubbing, sometimes I don't even realise a guy's hand is on my bum. So I'm kind of thinking, well, maybe it doesn't really compute to me that much. I do if it's more in the centre, but if it's on the edges, like near my legs, I don't really notice it that much. So I think maybe I don't actually mind that. But then, trying to like explain to a heterosexual, it's okay, that bit, but I don't want the rest of it. It's kind of difficult. They don't really understand. So a lot of the time I'm just like, don't touch it at all, my bum. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's how it can be a little bit difficult if you've got certain areas you're not 100% sure about if you mind or not mind. And sometimes when you're actually in a relationship, I think you've got to explore these things safely. If you've got a person that, that's okay one way or the other, where you do mind it and like it, or you don't. When you've got like a heterosexual with an asexual, they're really pushing this type of stuff. It's not very healthy, really, I don't think. Do you know what I mean? I think it's better to get someone who's comfortable with whatever makes you comfortable. That's much more of a loving attitude to have, much more of a healthy relationship attitude. I think that can stand you in good stead for having a healthy relationship. I think when a person's constantly trying to push your boundaries, it's not really relationship material. Do you know what I mean? That person's not really going to be good for you long term if they keep pushing you, because it's like they're pushing you now. What the heck are they going to push you for further down the line? It's going to be far more than you ever want. Do you know what I mean? And that's really pressurizing for an asexual. It's not very nice. So a word of caution, there are really good, loving, people out there that won't do that to you. I think a lot of heterosexuals probably will try and push a little bit, but the good ones will be like, oh, okay, I realise it's making you uncomfortable, I'm not going to push you. Do you know what I mean? Whereas there'll be other ones that are selfish and just care about their needs, and you don't want one of them. So this is really interesting. So so this person, I asked them, if you are not in a relationship, would you like to be in one? If so, why? Well, they've already said they're in a relationship, but they did actually answer this question. It was very, very interesting. So they said, these questions do not apply to me since I am in a relationship. However, if I were single, I would want a romantic relationship because I have an undirected romantic drive. See, this is very, very interesting. This person's on the aromantic spectrum, but they have an undirected romantic drive. My ideal relationship would be with another asexual or heterosexual, both possibilities male only, around my age, who understands my boundaries. I would not reduce my availability to only a small fraction of the 1%, which is why I'm not picky about my man's sexual orientation. How old is this person? Oh, it doesn't say. Just it said they discovered the term applies to them in 2015. That's what it says. Oh, does it say in the end of their story? Sometimes these are at the end of the stories about how old this person is. Oh, no, they don't say their age. So yeah, so anyway, this is kind of really interesting, isn't it? So what is their view about sex? Because obviously they're aromantic asexual. I'm neutral on sex. I don't like it and I don't hate it. It's something that exists in life, and as of this point, I don't really have much to do with it. I have not had penetrative sex, but I have compromised on other sexual acts with my boyfriend. I could feel everything physically, but internally I don't care for it much. It's just something that happens. If I absolutely had to, I probably would go all the way with penetration, and if it wasn't a necessity to my partner, I would not. My only fear would be the pain involved with vaginal sex for the first time and the awkwardness of it. Yeah, for a woman, it can be quite painful. I was quite lucky in the fact that it wasn't too painful for me, but I didn't realise that it was meant to be painful a lot of the time for women. It's a good job I didn't know that before I got asked to do that, or, well, rather I was pressurised into having sex for the first time, which wasn't a very good thing, really. But hey ho, you can't change your past, can you? That's what's happened. So this person, do you believe if a sexual person had a relationship with an asexual, it can work out? And what do you think about being fair or not? Obviously, it can work out if two people communicate effectively and are willing to work something out. If the asexual is willing to have sex, or if the sexual is willing to give it up, then great for them. Or having a polyamorous relationship if both are willing. But if neither can budge, then I don't think it would work. I think an asexual and sexual pairing is only unfair if the two see it as unfair. Nobody else's opinion matters to the in a relationship. And that's what I said, before in a previous live stream, that it only, it should be only the people in the relationship that define it, no one else, right? So some aromantics, those that lack romantic attraction, that are asexual, that lack sexual attraction, they are actually in relationships with people. And sometimes in certain groups, on Facebook, they're like, well, why do you want to be in a relationship if you're aromantic? Just because someone doesn't experience romantic attraction doesn't mean to say they can't want to be in a relationship. A relationship can mean many different things to different people. And you don't have to have a romantic component for it to be fantastic. Do you know what I'm saying? Just like you don't have to have sex to have an awesome relationship. You don't have to have romance for it to be an awesome relationship. And I'm a romantic person, I'm not aromantic, I'm romantic. But you know what I mean? It's the people in the relationship that should be defining it. No one else should be telling you how to run your relationship, or should be telling you, oh, you don't have a relationship if there's not sex involved. You don't have a relationship if there's no romance involved. I get fed up with both of them. It's absolutely ridiculous. Who are these people to tell people how to run their relationships and define their relationships? Only the people that are in the relationship can define it. It's between them, no one else. And it really, really makes me sad. And I think a lot of society thinks if you're not having sex in a relationship, you're not having a relationship. You're just friends. It's ridiculous. I don't kiss my friends. Do you know what I'm saying? My friends, I don't kiss. So if I'm in a relationship, I'll kiss the guy I'm in a relationship with. I won't kiss my friends. That's a very, very different thing for me. Do you know what I mean? But if an aromantic's in a relationship with someone, there's certain things they'll do with their partner, usually that they wouldn't necessarily do with their friends. Do you know what I mean? So, an aromantic person is just entitled to a relationship, And I think it's sad when people put emphasis on sex or romance as the necessities to be in a relationship. It's a load of rubbish. to be in a relationship, you need someone who is understanding, who's willing to realize that they are not perfect and willing to work on themselves and work on the relationship. Someone who's willing to say sorry sometimes. If you've got someone who never says sorry and thinks they're right all the time, they're going to be narcissistic and likely an abuser. You want someone who treats you with respect and kindness. Someone who, if they've got, if they want to give advice or whatever, they say something like, I want to make a suggestion. Can I make a suggestion? That means to say you have to do what they say. Someone who can communicate effectively by saying, have you tried this? What do you think of this? Like someone who wants to get involved in your life in a good way, not I want to take it over way, but who wants to like support you and be there for you. Someone who wants to be your bestest ever friend. Someone who wants to give you love, care, and attention that you deserve. Someone who wants to spend time with you. Someone who goes out of their way to spend time with you. Someone who wants you in their life no matter what. Someone who actually, value your time, value your friendship, value your relationship. And they'll pull you closer to them just by the fact that they love you so much and care about you so much, and they'll want to explore your world and you'll want to explore their world. It will be coming together of two separate beings that may have some commonalities and shared interests, but you'll also want to do things together to like enhance each other's lives, like learn from each other, to develop and grow. There might be certain skills, experience, and knowledge you have that the other person might be interested in learning that you can pass on to them, and vice versa. Not in a condescending, I know better than you way, but in a, have you tried this way? What do you think of this? Do you know what I mean? Because obviously, if someone's specialised in their area, you're specialised in yours, then you can show each other stuff and let them into your life and say, this is what goes on for me. And they'll be like, wow, that's incredible, I mean, I've got such good, best asexual friends, and my bestest friend, Sam, who's asexual, we talk about our projects sometimes, like not very in depth that much, but sometimes we do. Probably I maybe talk a little bit more in depth sometimes. But they've got their projects, I've got mine. It's really nice to just say, oh, I hope you have a productive day today, and we really support each other. I think what they do is amazing. They're very, very super clever, but they're building a space universe. I think it's a very exciting and very incredible, their own universe and space era. I'm so, it's just so unique. I love unique people, and my best friend Sam, she's so unique. And their brain is incredible. I don't know how they do it. They just got such an amazing brain. So I've been doing this since a kid. Do you know what I mean? To have such amazing skills and possibilities in life is just fantastic. I really admire them. Really admire them. And those type of things, those admirations and those mutual support, the things you should be having in an actual relationship with someone. If you want a relationship as well, you should be giving each other mutual support. You should be understanding that you might be different in certain ways. You might have different skills, knowledge, you might be doing different projects, but you can support each other in a very emotional sense of way, in a caring way, in the fact that I'm there for you, egging them on, saying, come on, you're doing so well, I'm so proud of you, that type of thing. I mean, Sam really supports me in my career. They are 100% behind me every step of the way. I feel like they're my rock like that. I mean, obviously I'm not in a romantic relationship or in a relationship with Sam. I'm in a friendship relationship, if you know what I mean. I don't go around kissing Sam. Sam's into guys. I'm not a guy. But those type of qualities that I've got with my friends, you should be getting those type of things in an actual relationship if you want to be in a relationship, and you should be looking for those type of things. It's not about how romantic or not romantic the person is. Obviously, as a romantic asexual myself, I'd want someone who was romantic because I want romance in my life. I want a person who's romantic. Ideally, I want a romantic person or someone who at least behaves romantically. Do you know what I mean? So I personally need that. But what I'm saying is it's the people in the relationship that define the relationship. And it shouldn't be defined by other people as in, oh, that person's not romantic, so they're not having a real relationship. That person's not having sex, they're not having a real relationship. A real relationship is all about these qualities I'm expressing, which is the kindness, the consideration, the mutual support, the taking an interest, the encouragement, the sharing of each other's journeys of life and the world, and it's really all these things that make a relationship, that actually deepen a relationship. Do you know what I'm saying? Not the sex and not the romance. Obviously people who love sex will say that deepens their relationship because they both love sex and it's very intimate and they think it deepens their relationship. That's fair enough. People who are romantic will say probably that the romance might deepen their relationship, but that's a romantic person. Their relationships are no more valid than some people who are in relationships who aren't romantic. That's what I'm trying to say. An aromantic person, if they want to be in a relationship, is just as valid in a relationship as a romantic person or a sexual person. Do you see what I'm saying? They are just as valid, and I want people to know this. I want aromantics, those who lack romantic attraction, to know that they don't have to follow the crowd and they don't have to, not be in a relationship if they feel they're being pressurized by the whole aromanticism kind of community to say, why would you want to be in a relationship? Or even maybe some romantic people might say that to you, why do you want to be in a relationship if you're not romantic? It's absolute rubbish. You don't have to be romantic to be in a relationship. You can offer a lot of special qualities in a relationship. Like I've said before, I personally feel that aromantics, some of the aromantics that I know, they are naturally romantic in their behavior without thinking it's romance. So for example, some aromantics that I know, they might like cuddling up on the couch watching a movie together. Do you know what I mean? Or which is quite romantic. They might want to go for a meal in the evening. Maybe they like candlelit dinners, which to me would be romantic, and to them would be like, I'm just sitting having a meal with you with candles on, which are pretty to look at. Do you know what I mean? They won't be thinking it's romantic. But it's not impossible for an aromantic and romantic person to be together. I mean, clearly this aromantic person is for the sexual person, right? And like I said in their story, that they did we kiss and make out, hold hands, and for me it wasn't connected with going further. And this is an aromantic asexual, not a romantic asexual, but they did say they have a romantic drive, but it's not aimed, do you know what I mean, at anyone. And they might be on the grey romantic spectrum or demiromantic, right? So they do have some sort of romantic interest, but even so, that's quite a lot of physical contact, isn't it? And that's what I'm saying. Just because they're aromantic doesn't mean to say they can't do kissing or cuddling if they want to. There's an aromantic sexual person, a woman that's on my asexualized page. She follows it a lot, and she's not asexual. She's an aromantic sexual person, but she's in a relationship with a heterosexual. And she said people are surprised because I'm aromantic. I love kissing and cuddling and doing all that type of stuff, which is why she gets on really well physically with her husband, because she loves doing all that stuff despite being aromantic. Because just because she's not romantic doesn't mean to say she doesn't like doing that stuff. Whereas some aromantic asexuals I know, they don't like hardly any physical contact. They might, if they wanted a relationship, they might just hold hands and maybe share a bed. Do you know what I mean? Or maybe give them each other a little sort of pat on the back or something like that. That's all the physical contact they want. So each of us is different of our own right, and no person has a right to invalidate someone else's relationship. It's the people in it that make the difference, and an aromantic person is just as valid in a relationship if they want one as someone who isn't on the aromantic spectrum. So anyway, I hope you found this video useful, helpful, insightful. And it can be confusing, if you're grey romantic, a grey romantic asexual is someone who experiences romantic attraction under limited, rare, or specific circumstances, but not enough to want to act on it. And then a demiromantic is someone who experiences romance only after a deep emotional bond has been formed. The rest of the time, they are just aromantic. They don't experience any romance. So unless they have that one or handful of people that, you know, they really have that deep emotional bond for, and then they can become romantic, you know, they are, by all intents and purposes, aromantic and don't experience any romance at all. This person identifies between grey romantic and demiromantics, and they have a romantic drive that's not direct at anyone. So this is a very, very interesting story. And don't forget cupiromantic, which I mentioned before in the previous video live stream, which was the day before yesterday. Well, day before now again, because we've gone into another day. On the last video anyway, the last live stream I did. Cupiromantic is someone who experiences romantic attraction. Sorry, it's someone who doesn't experience romantic attraction. Cupiromantic is aromantic. They don't experience romantic attraction, but they have a strong desire for a romantic relationship despite not experiencing any romance whatsoever. So I hope you found these video, this one and the previous one about aromantic awareness week and aromanticism helpful. If you have at all found it any use at all, if you've enjoyed hearing the story, don't forget it's from my Asexual Perspectives book. If you want to grab yourself a copy, links below. I hope you've enjoyed it, found it useful and helpful, insightful. If you have, please give this video a thumbs up. I really, really appreciate it. I love to have you as part of my community here. I really appreciate every single one of you. Thank you very much for joining in. As usual, I appreciate you. I love you very much. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that great big bell icon to get notified of every time I go live like now, post a new video. Until next time, embrace your quirky and each other's, and I'll see you on the next video live stream. Take care. Thank you so much. Happy Aromantic Awareness Week. Bye.